I was taking the headlines, that there was one thing that was not in the headlines. Then I saw a smile on your face when I referred to Arsenal.
Yeah,
Are you an Arsenal fan?
Of course, yes, I am.
So congratulations to us.
An ardent Arsenal fan, Arsenal for life, Gunners for life.
Did you see it coming?
Oh well, yes, we've been working hard. We've been doing our best to get there.
Now I understand why he takes some position on the issues. You are an Arsenal fan?
What does that even mean? Well,
they don't give up. Hoping against hope.
But I can't even do justice to that particular conversation. Let's get into what we have in the papers. Quite a number of stories, particularly having to do with security. But before we get to that, there is this one which we talked about it last week. It was not in the headlines last week, but you saw that. You saw it coming. And you have a Senator NDUME, talking about it. And the presidency has responded to Senator NDUME. The headline on the front page of The Nation having to do with this is saying, Presidency NDUME row over lopsided appointments claim. You have NDUME saying it does not reflect federal character. But then you have the presidency saying this is selective perception on the side of NDUME. I know your stance on this because you already talked about it. Maybe we should start with Isiaka Gbadamosi, and then you will get to share your thoughts also. NDUME is saying one thing. The presidency is saying this reeks of hypocrisy on the side of Senator NDUME.
I do agree with the presidency. I think Senator NDUME lived in this country through the era of President Muhammadu Buhari. He lived in this country through the era of former President Goodluck Jonathan. There used to be a time under former President Goodluck Jonathan that the closest that the Southwest was to the seat of power was the 15th position, and that was then the Minister for Agriculture, the present President of African Development Bank. Now, that who was shouting then that there was lopsidedness and all of that. You see, we don't do selective argument when we feel it doesn't favor, it favors us. We now shout. I will understand my colleague saying this is not right, and this is this and this is that. Yes, I will understand that on his part, but on the part of Senator NDUME, I think it's the peak of hypocrisy. I think he should not be saying anything. Nobody said anything about this when President Muhammadu Buhari was doing this. He virtually had himself surrounded with Hausa Fulanis all throughout his government, and nobody complained about it. And for me, I keep asking the question, let us look at the statistics of what we are talking about and put it side by side and start examining these things, and not just make a sweeping statement of this government is lopsided, is this and is all of that. The Federal Character Commission is existing, and they have the duty to ensure that there's a balance. If there is no such balance, there should be maybe a petition to such a body to look into this appointment, and then corrections will be made. But to now make it a media issue and we start to speak, as far as I'm concerned, NDUME is not the person to start making this kind of postulation and position.
Okay, let's take out NDUME. Let's take out the message. Let's look at the message. Do you think that the appointments of the presidency or the president has favored the Southwest more?
I don't think so. Maybe you might talk about...
Do you see it as favoring the Southwest more?
I don't see it that way.
Because it's not about thinking now. No. It is about what we have, the facts.
I do not see it that way. Okay. Let's look at the facts. If you look at the security agencies, let's start looking at them one after the other. You will see that starting from the Minister of Defense to the Minister of State to the Chief of Defense Staff to the Chief of Army Staff, I mean, just look at it, to the NSA, all of these things, all of these people are occupied by Northerners. Then you now start looking at some other sectors of the economy. I mean, some other sector of the country. You cannot insist that the Yorubas are the ones that are occupying every sector of this.
Not every sector. He's not saying every sector. Majority of the sectors.
I don't agree with the majority. No, I don't.
I'll turn to Ojasope on this. What do you make of the comment by Gbadamosi? Do you think that the appointments have favored the Southwest above other zones in Nigeria?
Let me start by saying that the response from the presidency is grossly irresponsible. What you would have expected for them is to reel out the appointment. Just give us the list. Let NDUME see its hypocrisy when you release the list. But if you're talking about federal character, it's not just about sectors. It's like balancing it even in each sector. Because if you're talking about finance now, If you are talking about revenue generation, as far as this administration is concerned, whatever has to do with major revenue generation in this country is handled by the Yorubas. Don't let me just talk about the Southwest. Yes, and it is wrong. That does not reflect better federal character. It is wrong. You have the finance minister, you have the central bank governor, you have the FIRSC, you have the mines and agriculture, you have solid minerals, port authority, you have the police. You don't do things like that. If you want other regions to be comfortable, the fact that some people have done it before does not make it right. And that's why I keep saying it on this program that we should be careful of laying wrong precedents, because some other people will still come after us. Maybe when it is the time of the middle belt or the northeast or southeast, they too will claim that during Tinubu he did this, during Jonathan he did it. That somebody has done it before does not make it right. And that's why we expected somebody that claimed to be a fighter of democracy before he became president to be able to balance things up. This our local mentality in governance is wrong. If it is to pick ticket, it's still understandable. But when you get to government, you have sworn to defend the constitution of Nigeria, not of APC, not of the Yorubas.
An interesting take there. Of course, talking about...
I think I have something to add to that. See, let's take the example of the Nigerian Port Authority.
Go ahead.
The Nigerian Port Authority from inception, if you look at the MD of Nigerian Port Authority from inception till date, they have always been from the north. The same thing with the Federal Capital Territory. And now for a change, we have a Nyesom Wike at the Federal Capital Territory. Now the point I'm making is this. You must always have, nobody has it's not a birthright of anybody or any part of this country to have access to a particular sector of the economy. Other people too should have access to it. The defense, the Ministry of Defense is not the birthright of any part of this country. Other people should have access to it. I do not remember, just like when Taurid Lagbaja was appointed Chief of Army Staff, I was sitting down and I was trying to look at the last time anybody from the Southwest was Chief of Army Staff. It was as far back as General Kiri, maybe in the 80s. I mean, how do you justify that? So all of this for me, I see a balancing act. If there is justification for any of this call for maybe balancing or maybe lopsidedness, let's put it on the table. It is not in the place of the government to start saying this is the list of the people.
Really?
No, it's not. It's not.
Perception is not key.
No, it's not the
Federal character is not key.
No, for me, it is not the duty of the presidency to do that. It is the duty of those who accuse the presidency to put up the list and let us take a look at it and let us debate it.
An interesting perspective there.